Simple, yet mysterious. Affectionate, yet brutal. Meager, yet majestic. Welcome to the enigmatic world of India. Unquestionable, however, is India's emergence on the world stage.
India is a country of 1.2 billion people, and 70% of that population right now is under the age of 35. By 2025, half of the world's entire youth will live in that one nation.
Strong in population, yet vulnerable in fame. Here, Christian believers are a small minority, less than 3% according to government statistics. Even more alarming are the numbers of Indians who've never heard the gospel of Christ.
You know, it's a lot of people out there who are worshiping so many other different gods. And the reason why they're worshiping all these other different gods, you know, and not Jesus Christ, one, because they don't hear about him. They don't know Christ.
You see a lot of missionaries there in India, and you see churches going, but you don't see huge evangelistic arms coming in. And that's what Team Impact wants. We would like to be able to do more and more of, going and really reaching into their culture, reaching to these kids' lives, and helping them.
Mahatma Gandhi once said, "Strength does not come from physical capacity. It comes from indomitable will." No truer words could be spoken for Team Impact's next feat. Not to crush concrete and steel, but to break through cultural and religious barriers. Not to rely on muscle and speed, but to surrender to faith. Not to just visit the nation of India, but to impact it. This is Team Impact India.
Could you take a minute to just listen? I need your full attention. I'm on a super undercover secret hip-hop mission. Got the tools, got the skills, I got the X-ray vision. And
how it all began, you know, India, we've always wanted to go there, but we didn't know how we were going to be able to put it together financially. I decided to go to Marcus and Joni and say, hey, could you partner with us so we could go? And they gave us the green light, and we're good to go.
What was really interesting is when we got our luggage into the vehicle and we started driving down the road.
And it was like an action movie. We were going down through the streets, and it was like, just go. He's just going, just driving here or there, just darting in and out of the traffic and stuff like that.
They had lines on the roads, but nobody used the lines. I mean, people were going every which way.
You could actually drive. I tell people all the time, in India, you can drive on either side of the road.
Semis would come right at us, and we were going right at it, and the guy would just veer around it.
They hardly ever stopped. He was honking the horn all the time, and that's how they would maneuver. You know, you drive, don't hit your brakes, get out the way, move, and keep on driving. Swerve, keep on driving, keep on driving. And it was just a crazy experience, you know.
We just got rammed, dude.
We just got rammed by another car. So traffic's a little dangerous here. Somebody just came in and just hit the side of this car. So I don't know if they're going to exchange insurance. I don't know. Doubt it.
You know, we have traffic lights in India, but we call them disco lights, just to amuse you as you zip by. And you share the road in India with cars and trucks and three-wheelers and people on bicycles, but you also share the road with animals, cows and dogs and goats. It's incredible. So many people on the street, and you know, the stores and the shops are all around the street. That's where people meet, and that's where business is done and stuff like that. So it's very noisy, very crowded, and driving is an interesting experience. You should be ready for anything. You could experience anything driving in India.
As a three-time world champion powerlifter with a 61-inch chest, Randall Harris is no stranger to turning heads. However, within just hours of arrival, he quickly found that it was his head that needed to turn, or bobble.
You know, in America, like, we say, hey man, how you doing? You doing all right? They're like, Yeah, I'm doing good. That's what we say. But we ask them that. We ask that to the people from India. They're like, they don't nod their head. They go, they're like that. Like, hey man, how you doing today? I'm good. Hey man, can I take a picture? You want to take a picture? Yeah. And they roll their head and sort of roll their eyes at the same time. It's crazy. Like, at first when they were doing it, I'm like, you getting an attitude or something? What's wrong with you, man?
We use our hands a lot, and then we do this, which is the Indian bobblehead, and it goes all directions. So a lot of people wonder, like, is that a yes or is that a no? It's kind of fun.
Can I get a straw, please? Why do they keep doing that, man? Are they mad at me? What? I'm just asking them a question. I asked nicely, didn't I?
It's funny because almost everybody there did that, so it was hilarious.
They get excited. They're very animated when they speak, and it's part of who they are, and just the most beautiful people on planet Earth.
They'll come up there, hey, can I take a picture of you? Yeah, come on, take a picture. All right, I took the picture. I was like, oh. I started doing it right back to them. Oh, all right, very good.
Along with Sujo John and a network of local pastors, Team Impact looks to hold a 3-night crusade in Ranchi, the capital city of the Indian state of Jharkhand. Labeled the Manchester of the East, Ranchi has risen to become a prominent political, commercial, industrial, and educational hub of eastern India. It's also here in Ranchi that one of Sujo John's partners has planted over 130 churches within just the last 7 years. However, the site for Team Impact's crusade lies in the middle of an unreached village, yet another perplexity for a country with deep spiritual roots.
And India's history will tell you that 4 major religions started in that nation: Hinduism, Buddhism, Sikhism, Jainism, and then the other major religions, Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, reached there in the first millennium. So it's a very spiritual country, and in fact the motto of that nation is in Sanskrit, which is the ancient Indian language. It says Satyameva Jayate, which means truth prevails or truth triumphs. And so I look at that history and I say, wow, they're searching for the gospel. And so there's a great opening for that gospel right now in India. Indians are the most lively people. They're very deep-rooted in their culture, which means there's tons of festivals in India. There's a lot of celebration. Family is very important to them, so you'd see huge family gatherings. Weddings are huge, and there's a lot of color, a lot of vibrancy in their culture. It's a fascinating country with people speaking different languages, and actually this country is broken up into 27 states and 7 union territories, and almost in every state they speak a different language, and yet it's one country united, and it's actually the largest democracy in the world. So it has its problems, but it's a country where people from different religions and people that speak different languages live together. And in the last few years, it's been amazing to see what's happening in that nation. And now, not just the spiritual part, but economically, Indians are really emerging in the world. The economy has been growing at an average 6 to 7% every year. What that means is Indians are now so excited at the opportunity that they now have to emerge into the global economy. More jobs being created in India than anywhere in the world. More millionaires being created now in India than anywhere in the world. So it is an amazing time for that nation of India as they really emerge into the global economy and the global village.
Day 2 arrives, and Barry Handley is charged with the task of finalizing details for the night crusades just 36 hours away.
We don't need this now.
Yeah.
Because we're doing the dirt. What ended up happening is we sent a materials list weeks before, but when we got there, they couldn't find anything, so we had to go and search everything out ourselves.
Lumber yard, do you have a lumber yard where we can look at wood?
We didn't understand that one.
With key items thousands of miles out of reach, a modified equipment list must be created. And Barry, who for 25 years has run through anything from walls of ice to stacks of 2x4s, now begins a first, a scramble through the streets of Jharkhand.
There's no Home Depot and there's no Lowe's and stuff like that. You gotta go look for a nail. Okay, there's a nail store and there's a street, they sell nails, so you gotta go there.
We were driving around and all of a sudden I saw some bricks on the ground. You could tell they were making bricks right there, so I told the driver, hey, we need to stop. And so we jumped out of the car and started looking at the bricks.
Do you have any that doesn't have steel?
We couldn't find our normal bricks that we break, so we had to literally use tiles that you use on housing, you know, on the roofs of houses to find those. And then the next place we went was this place along the side of the road that was, you know, they would cut logs, but it was very crude.
We found a log that might work, very heavy. They're going to help cut it because they don't have chainsaws. Normally we cut the log. We're going to try to design it and see if they can cut it right now.
They bring out this great big old saw. I've never seen this thing in real life before. I've seen it on TV. I've seen it like way back in the day, old pictures and stuff like that. And it was like, you know, they were up there just, you know, like watching something on Bonanza or something, you know. They were just old school with it. It was Little John and Hoss going at it.
I mean, it probably took us 2 hours to do the log, but they did a great job with the log. They cut it to our specs, and they didn't have the type of tools that we would use, but we ended up getting it done. So yeah, it was pretty interesting finding materials in India.
As night falls, attention turns from searching for items to reaching people, beginning with the team's first performance before an elementary school mostly made up of first-generation school attendees.
We walked around the corner, we were greeted by the teacher and kids, and they had made some necklaces. And they gave us some necklaces. They had some flowers for us. And those little girls who were up there, and they wanted to do a dance as we walked in, just to welcome us in.
It was extremely sweet and tender, and it was amazing how just receptive they were to us and how they treated the people that were visiting them.
Good evening. Good evening. We loved watching you guys earlier.
As the team took the stage, cultural differences soon surfaced. From words lost in translation,
I had a lot of obstacles to face. I had a lot of problems.
To unexpected silence.
We like people to really get into the feats, you know, making noise, cheering and clapping and stuff like that. And they were so busy just sitting there watching, they were like, wow.
The team finds its familiar groove being tested.
They've never seen an American baseball bat. They're looking at it like it's all odd and everything.
We just want to prove that this is real.
The one boy was going to slam it on his leg, and we were worried that he might hurt himself, so we said, hey, no, don't do that, just press.
Little did anyone know, change would begin with 3 unlikely letters.
The one thing that really connected us with those people, the children especially, is the letters WWE. You said WWE, and that was it. They understood what it was. They've seen shirts. They know about the wrestlers. They know about this John Cena stuff. And I was like, man, well, there's only one wrestler, pro wrestler, who was a pro wrestler, and that's Ron.
Meet Ron Waterman, also known as H2O. Pro WWE wrestler and mixed martial arts champion, Ron is no stranger to overcoming obstacles and engaging an audience.
When they see somebody 300 pounds that's just muscled up, I mean, it was amazing to them. And so the kids were just in awe, and it was fun watching that.
It was a good thing. It was a good thing to see their reaction to something different. You know, we're looking at them and we're saying, man, this is different for us, and they're looking at us and we're like, man, y'all different from us. So it was a really good little combination right there when we came together.
And to be able to be there and be an impact in their life, knowing that many times they don't get anything like this. And so us being able to give a little bit of joy, a little bit of encouragement to them was a wonderful experience.
Coming up after the break, a visit to the stadium site stirs up questions.
When we first arrived, we're thinking, oh my goodness.
Will the event be ready?
I saw the skeleton of this. I was like, man, how's this going to work? It's not possible.
And more importantly, will the people come? Next on Team Impact India.
Barry, your team is here in this.
Pennsylvania.
The average height of an adult male in India is 165 centimeters, or roughly 5'4" inches. So, through the eyes of many Indians, spotting someone like Barry Handley, dubbed the human giant at 6'7" and 350 pounds, the experience was clearly phenomenal.
We make them say, oh.
First of all, 5'4", that's way too tall for what I saw. Those people were like 4'3". They were all little people, man. And I kept on waiting to see, you know, bigger people, but they never did show up, you know.
Well, it's really fun to watch, to be with Team Impact and be walking with them on the streets of India and just to see the reaction of the crowds.
When we came together, it was amazing. People would stop traffic. I mean, literally the whole traffic in a real busy intersection just stopped, and they were taking pictures and videotaping.
You know, the funny part was, these days everyone has a cell phone, right? India is a poor country, but everybody has a cell phone. Go figure that one out. And all of those cell phones are pretty fancy, fancier than the cell phones that we have. So all these kids pull out cameras, which is on their phones, and there were like thousands of people clicking.
Take a picture of one snap. That's what they'll call it. Hey, one snap, one snap.
The first day, a newspaper came in to interview and did some pictures, and we were on the front page of the paper the next day.
And when we walked outside, people were running up and say, hey, you're the guys, you're the wrestlers, you're the guys. They were calling us wrestlers because it said wrestlers on the paper. They were just stopped and they were just shocked and just surrounding us.
After so many autographs and pictures, however, a new request would occasionally arise.
I don't know why. You always have some guy who wants to get lifted or picked up in the air.
Can you lift him like this?
Guy was like, hey man, can you lift me up, lift me up, lift me up? And so he ran over there and said, come on, lift me up.
You gotta jump. 1, 2.
That just made his day. That made his year pretty much. People were taking pictures of him and stuff like that. That was it. You couldn't tell him nothing. Everybody was high-fiving him and stuff like that. You the man, this, that, and the other. Then all of a sudden you see more people say, me next.
You know, it's kind of scary a little bit in certain situations because, I mean, literally hundreds and hundreds of people start swarming you and want to start talking to you about what we're doing. But to me, it's exciting because I know I'm going to have an opportunity to invite them to come to our night program, and then potentially many of these Hindus, Buddhists, Muslims are going to hear the gospel maybe for the first time. And so that's what, it's exciting at the same time, but it is a little bit intimidating.
As much as the size of Team Impact draws a surprise, the words of international speaker Sujo John strike a familiarity.
I've been to many villages in Jharkhand. Coming, I just felt something very special about this place.
Born and raised in Calcutta, Sujo joins the team for his 30th visit back to India.
A new India is being built.
I really have a respect for Sujo and what he does all over the world. What a great testimony, what a great man of God.
He was saying that he was always goal-oriented, you know, he wanted to make something of himself and go to America and really get into the big world, and all of a sudden, it can be at any moment in time, you know, something happens.
I started working in New York City. और मैं New York शहर में काम करने लगा. The 81st floor of Tower 1 of the World Trade Center. और it was
September 11, 2001. That tragic day. I'm on the 81st floor and came down 81 floors, moved to the second tower to be looking for my wife, and that's when the second tower starts collapsing. So I face this building collapsing around me, and I'm saying, God, if I die here, where am I going? God just fills me with this peace that if I die, I will go to heaven. But looked around, 15, 20 people with me who didn't know where they were going. So in a way, that's when my ministry started.
And as I felt the Lord speak to me, और तब प्रभु ने मुझसे कहा, a boldness comes upon me. और मेरे अंदर में एक हिम्मत आया. And the voice from the Bible comes to my mind. और बाइबल का पद मेरे मन में आया. Romans 10:13. और रोमी का 10:13. Whosoever, जो कोई shall call, पुकार लेगा upon the name of the Lord. प्रभु के नाम को पुकारेगा, shall be saved. उसका उद्धार होगा. Absolute guarantee. और बिल्कुल गारंटी के साथ. And I started crying Jesus. मैंने यीशु का नाम लेने लगा. I begged with those people. और उन लोगों के साथ में विनय करने लगा. To call upon the name of Jesus. यीशु के नाम को पुकारो.
And since that day, I realized that, hey, you could chase all the stuff in the world. You could go chase the success, and success shows up. Chase that relationship yours. You gain it all and lose your soul. What will be your profit? And so since then, it became very important for me to live out my life loudly so I can impact eternity.
And my cell phone rings. और मेरा cell phone बजने लगा. And it's my wife. और वो मेरी पत्नी थी. Her life was spared. और उसकी जीवन भी बच गया था. She was late to work. और वो वहाँ में निकला जाए. Late that day. और उस दिन से I said, God, हे परमेश्वर, I'm done working in corporate America. और अमेरिका के सुना है. I said, God, I want to be a preacher of the good news of Jesus Christ. और मैंने कहा, हे प्रभु, मैं तेरे शुभ संदेश का प्रचारक बनना चाहता हूँ. And that's how our life changed. उस तरह से हमारा.
You can tell when he speaks that he feels the pain of the people around him, and I think that's what makes some of the greatest preachers is people that can really empathize about what's happening. And he has a passion for India, and I'm just so thankful that he let us come with him on this event.
Pastor.
Yeah, good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
You're Pastor Thompson?
Oh, nice to meet you, Pastor.
Joint Secretary of all.
It's 24 hours till the nightly crusades began, and an initial visit to the stadium site shows the team a venue like they'd never encountered before.
The area where we're having the event, it was a big open field, and we drove up there the day before everything took place. And they had to go out there, and they took bamboo sticks and tied them up and made an actual stage, actual stage. And I looked at it before I saw the skeleton of this. I was like, man, how's this going to work? It's not possible.
Yeah, I mean, when we first arrived, we're thinking, oh my goodness. I know bamboo's strong, but I'm thinking there is no way in the world that log is going to make it because it requires a stable, very strong stage.
Because I'd be afraid to put it on that because it might not be strong enough.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's very different. You know, the stage in India for crusades and stuff like that, it's built very differently. A lot of it's just plywood and bamboo. And actually, a lot of that was done by the volunteers of different churches that came together. So we try to do our events with a low budget, and we don't have the glitz and glamour and all that technology stuff that you see in America. I'm not against it. But I think in India especially, they're just so hungry for the gospel. So we try to maximize the resources that we have to put this together. And it's in a small town, so in a way you don't need all of that technology. But the highlight was Team Impact being there. And for a small community to witness that was just incredible. It was just a world-class event coming to a small town.
Day 3 arrives, and as volunteers work tirelessly to complete the stage, a buzz begins in the city.
As you can see, we're in town. This is just one of the posters. They have them all over town for tonight meeting. You're going to get ran over in just a second. We just got the log done. We're getting ready to do a press conference at the hotel, and then we're going to have the night program tonight. We're expecting thousands of people. Thank you so much, Daystar. Thank you for Marcus and Joni for bringing this here. We're going to see so many people come to know the Lord. It's been such an impact so far, and it's just begun.
Now the team looks to go where word of mouth cannot, to the remote village of Sungi. Without electricity or any form of outside communication, villages like Sungi present two major risks: lack of medical facilities if needed, and the threat of foreigner kidnappings by terrorist groups. But for Team Impact, the risk is worth taking.
Just now we are going to village of Sungi. The people, those who are hungry and thirsty for the word of God, and the children are very excited. They are very crazy to see all of you, and there will be very hot welcome for our Team Impact. So they are with the dance and with the garland of the flower, they are waiting for all of you.
After receiving a hero's welcome, the team takes on one of its most dangerous feats.
This is a hot water bottle.
I think everybody would say they hate doing the hot water bottle.
They have outlawed this from the Guinness Book of World Records for competition.
And just seeing the air that goes in and knowing that if that air comes back and hits back at you, your lungs could collapse.
unpredictable. It'll take maybe 10 seconds sometimes, or it might take 5, 6, 7 minutes.
But then when they explode, it's like having a huge, thick rubber band, somebody pulling it back and hitting you in the face. So you get whelps and you get huge lacerations in your face.
One guy we had, it slapped him across his ear, and he lost his hearing in his ear for a long time.
Well, another guy, the big Samoan, passed out after he did a hot water ball. I mean, but the kids love it, and so we have to do it everywhere we go.
That's got to be the largest hot water bottle I've ever seen in my life. Let's give Ron Waterman a big round of applause. What a great job he did. Come on, Ron Waterman!
Next up is Randall Harris.
Ever since I was a child watching this type of ministry, I used to watch people snap a wooden baseball bat, and I said, that is cool. I want to be able to do that. It's very intimidating, too. People don't know you can snap a bat, you walk out, and don't mess with me, man. Show them the bat. I told you not to mess with me, you know. Hey, you not gonna give me a raise? Give me a raise. What, you don't want to go out with me? You want to go out with me now?
Today, however, his beloved baseball bat is replaced with something the audience reveres. For the first time ever, Randall attempts to break a cricket bat.
What India worships is this game called cricket. It's huge. India has become almost like the mecca of cricket.
You know, I remember in Africa, we tried a couple cricket bats and we just couldn't do them.
Well, it was pretty tough. The leverage is different, the way you have to hold it is different, the grip is different on that bat.
We knew that if there's one guy that could do it, he could do it. He struggled, but the guy can bench press 700 pounds. His chest is, 8 feet around. When we broke that cricket bat, they just went crazy.
It was huge for them to know that they were trying to identify with their culture, that yes, I'm not bringing our stuff onto you, but I'll pick something from your culture.
With a newfound connection to the audience, the team openly shared their faith and saw over 150 students and adults offer their lives to Christ. At the close of the meeting, the entire village came out to meet the team, providing a personal glimpse into an Indian villager's daily life.
This mud house belongs to this gentleman who is standing here. He's a farmer in this village. He built by his own hand because there is no any brick, cement, or no any other building materials here. So they make the tiles, all these bamboo sticks and all this roof wooden they bring from the jungle, and they make their own.
When I'm in the villages of India, in a way, my life in America, it just hits me real hard. I almost feel guilty of the lifestyle sometimes that we live in, and because people in America have no clue how blessed we are in this nation compared to the rest of the world.
This is the oven. This is the oven.
They had a cold slab of concrete, and then we saw a bunch of little bags and blankets all around surrounding the wall. We looked down and realized that this is what their beds, you know, that's where they sleep.
These all are vegetable trees. They eat the flower of this tree, then fruits, then leaf also they eat. And this particular tree's fruit that reduce the blood pressure.
Really?
Yeah.
We saw some girls who were grabbing brooms to sweep. They had a gust of wind come through and actually blow a lot of dirt all around the place. They weren't frustrated. They just went back and swept it up again. I said, man, this is something else, man. They're really taking care of what they have, you know. You see how appreciative, how proud they are of what they have. That makes you feel different about your situation. And man, you know what? I need to take care of myself. I need to reevaluate myself a little bit, my values. You know, I need to rethink. You know, have to stop thinking the way I'm thinking selfishly, stuff like that.
Hours from performance, anticipation, bills. After a full capacity press conference, the team's thoughts and prayers focus on the crusade ahead.
We really bathed this thing in prayer because we knew that there was a big spiritual warfare going on for these people.
This also happens to be in a part of India where there's persecution.
But once it was time to go, man, we were on.
Coming up after the break, night one begins. And one team member loses his nerves to the shock of his own team.
He looked around and was like, oh man. And I looked at him like, dude, what are you doing, man?
Next on Team Impact India. As the clock ticks closer to the first night crusade, the team makes their way to the soccer stadium site, a venue that caused concern just 24 hours earlier.
I saw the skeleton of this. I was like, man, how's this going to work? It's not possible.
However, today's arrival stirs a different reaction.
These guys worked tirelessly all through the day and the evening, and the next day it was totally completed. So yeah, I was very impressed on how they built that.
So man, these people, you know, got some engineering stuff going on, man. This is pretty nice, man. It's cool. It was an awesome experience that very first night. Never forget that. When you looked out there, it would be a sea of people, and they would have all these different colorful clothes on.
We had a great turnout, and the first night, probably 7,500 people or something showed up. We just knew that this was just going to grow.
It was a good feeling. It was awesome.
But before any souls would be won, the team must win over the crowd, all beginning with Barry Henley.
Back in the day, we had a smaller hot water bottle, blow up, and he would always play around and walk around and stuff like that, and boom, bottle would explode. This time, he blows up the hot water bottle, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's past the point of what our older bottles would do and explode.
I knew the hot water bottles were difficult, but we were in a very humid, hot area. I was blowing it up, and all of a sudden, I could start feeling the hot water bottle slip off my face. I couldn't even hold it on. Air was flying out left and right.
And he lost it. And the bottle just came out, the air just came out the bottle and stuff, and he looked around and was like, oh man. And I looked at him like, dude, what are you doing, man? Come on, blow the bottle up. And he tries it again. The second time he's blowing the bottle up, he's just drenched in sweat, man. Sweat's pouring all off him and everything. And right now, I know he's praying. He's praying super hard right now. He's like, please, Lord, let this bottle explode. Let this happen. Because if I don't make this bottle explode, I'm going to hear about it for the rest of my life with Team Impact. Finally exploded. We're like, man, we told you that bottle was hard, huh? You thought we were lying, huh? You thought we were playing, huh?
Yeah, I'ma take it higher, spit fire till the day I retire. Hey, we just taking it to a whole new level, man. That's what we're doing here, you know?
And so began one explosive night in Jharkhand.
I'ma take it higher, spit fire till the day I retire. Yeah, dudes need to get your minds right, get your rhymes tight, cause you ain't spitting fire. They ain't spitting no fire, take it higher.
By the end of the night, the audience experienced feats they could never imagine, and truth they had never known.
You don't need to go to a holy place. To meet this God, you don't need to go to any holy man. और इस उस परमेश्वर से मुलाकात के लिए आपको किसी पवित्र जन के पास जाने की आवश्यकता नहीं। You can meet this God tonight, sitting where you are. आज की रात में आप जहाँ कहीं बैठे हैं, खड़े हैं।
Most of India, somehow they think Christianity is a Western religion. But when you go into the stories of Jesus and the parables and you tell them that this happened in Israel, you get on a flight from India, in 4 hours you will be in Jerusalem. So this happened close to you. That kind of, in a way, opens up their hearts.
It was just amazing as Suzhou preached a powerful message, and then to see the altar response of over 500 decisions that first night was incredible.
The first night, what really hit me was, leaving the grounds and in the car, driving towards our hotel, which is a good 30 minutes drive. I'm 20 minutes on the road, and I still see people walking. They were all people walking from the crusade grounds, walking to their homes, and some of them walking back into their villages where there's no electricity, carrying a little lamp in their hand. And I just knew that, wow, God, you actually cost it on their heart to pay this price, to come all the way to hear the gospel. And I just knew in my spirit that many of them were walking back home, knowing the Lord. And that was just the most exciting part of that night, knowing that lives were changed and the village was going to change, the marriages were going to change, that God was going to be lifted up and exalted in that village.
Yesterday we came out of our hotel and a gentleman that owns a gym that's actually one of the championship gym here in this country. They won the gold medal in powerlifting. He saw us in the newspaper, invited us out to come up to his gym and share with him. He knows that we speak in schools and that type of thing, and I told him that we're men of faith, and so we're going to be able to go and meet with him, so we're going up to the gym right now.
We walk inside this gym, and this gym is like, it's straight out of pumping iron. They got all the metal stuff, the old school Universal equipment, but it was packed in there. Everybody was in there at 7 a.m. working out, working hard.
You could see them looking at Randall and Ron and the guys coming in, and they wanted us to start training, so we started doing some bench pressing, and you could see Randall just taking the weights, and they wanted to see how much he could lift, and he didn't want to injure himself, but he did quite a bit of weight that day.
Right now, Randall's just starting to warm up. He's got 200 kilos on here. That's about 440, 450 pounds.
I believe the goal was for that morning to try to beat the record for that gym. Well, I beat the record.
Randall right now is up close to about 500 pounds. He's going to do it for a single rep. He's still working his way up.
Then I was going to try to go for a personal record that I haven't done in a long time, which was a 600-pound bench press.
Randall's about he's right at almost 600 pounds. He's going to do it for a single rep here.
270, 600 pounds.
It's kind of hard at 7 o'clock in the morning without any kind of a warm-up, but this is probably twice as much as anybody's done in this gym before, so these guys are pretty wide-eyed right now.
Here we go.
Come on.
On! Up! Go!
Today, no world records were broken, but a connection was formed.
Tried 6, but it was a little bit too much for me that morning. But they had a good time with it. They were like, oh man, quick. Oh yeah, that's tight, man, that's good.
You guys will have a great time if you can make it out. It's tonight.
They came out to the program. 3 of the guys, the guy who owned the gym, his son, and another guy who we saw up there.
Knowing that most of these people that we're speaking to are Hindu or Buddhist, and to invite them out to our night program, and some of them came out and they were able to hear the gospel for the first time, so it was awesome.
Beside barbells and along sidewalks, the team delicately spoke their stories of faith to those of all religions. But they weren't exempt from experiencing the friction and fatality of India's religious persecution.
I remember being at our hotel, and as we got into getting ready to get in our vehicles, they said we can't go out the front exit of the hotel because there's a murder. But come to find out, this boy was dating outside of the religion that he was in and his family, and so his own family went and almost murdered his girlfriend, and this 14-year-old boy was stabbed to death, left on the street.
The team also discovered that acts such as these were once orchestrated by someone right beside them, the team's interpreter, Bishal.
This trip, ran into a young man whose responsibility was to take care of me and the team. And just spending some time with him, I began to ask him about his background, his testimony, and then he started telling me his story.
He joined a very radical, fanatical Hindu organization called the RSS, and the RSS is responsible for a lot of persecution that goes against the Church of Jesus Christ in India. So he gets very involved in RSS, and his one mission was to advance Hinduism in India and to destroy Christianity. One day, working in a bank, he meets a young lady who says, "It's 31st night, let's go to church. There's some event going on in church." He goes with this young girl, and he decides to blow up that building. He says, within the next 7 days, I'm going to come here one day and blow up this building and kill these people. And somehow during that time, he runs into this pastor again and says, "Well, this is what I'm about to do. I'm about to murder 2 people, and if I get caught, I'll kill myself, or if I'm thrown in jail, I'll come out and then I'll persecute Christians even more." And as he began to share about what he was about to do, the compassion of God just fell upon this pastor, and this lady pastor hugged on him, and he could not understand that he was there to kill her, and how come this woman shows him such love. And they both embraced each other, and she began to tell him about the love of Jesus Christ, and that got a hold of this young man's life, and he gave his life to the Lord Jesus. And the most amazing part of Vishal's story is God has put a call upon his life to preach the gospel.
As he was helping us with the crusade, I just knew in my spirit that this is a young man that one day he's going to be doing what I now do in India, getting behind a pulpit, and will be preaching the gospel. And what an impact that young man's going to have, and what an impact young people like that are going to have in India. Sauls turned into Pauls, who are now on fire, radical for Jesus.
Like Paul of Tarsus, converted believers such as Bishal stand to face some of the same persecution they once served.
I always run into pastors who've been beaten up for the gospel, whose wives have been poisoned or lost their children, ostracized from society, kicked out of their families, kicked out of villages, houses burned. But if you were to talk to any pastor who's faced that kind of persecution in India, he would have no regrets, and because the church is growing. And that's the history of the church, right? When persecution shows up, and when the church goes through persecution, the church grows, explodes.
Never before the Church of Jesus Christ in India is being awakened.
And in a way, the cry of the church in India is, if this is how the church is going to grow, we're ready to take the beatings, we're ready to be killed for the gospel, we're ready for blood to be shed.
So what a privilege that you and I get to be part of this great move of God.
The census of India, they will not tell you that Christians are emerging. Even to this day, they tell you that 2.1% of that nation is Christian. But most Christian leaders believe, and I believe this too, that 10 to 12% of the population of India has put their trust in the Lord Jesus Christ. So this is just an incredible, fascinating time in history. More people coming to Christ in India than in any other nation on planet Earth.
After the break, the team concludes the Night Crusades by attempting their most unpredictable feat yet. Next on Team Impact India.
We're here in Ranchi, India, and it's so eye-opening to come to a trip like this, to see the way that people live and really reflect on your own life. I wish my kids could be here with me to see the way that other people live, because it's an eye-opening experience.
It's day 4, and the team makes their way to the last of the Night Crusades. And like the coming and going of landmarks before them, so continue impressions of a country they've never known. 2 different languages, learning to speak one prayer. Demonstrating not the failure to reach a goal, but the courage to try. And traveling distances so far to discover what is held so close. But tonight is a new crusade, and with 15,000 in attendance, it's time for new impressions to begin.
Clap it up, Mr. One!
anything that Team Impact do is like has a wow effect to it. They're just incredible. I mean, this big man doing this crazy stuff. Then they did another crazy feat with his bed of nails on Ron, and Randall got on top of him. Then Randall was bench pressing a huge log.
Now, the funny thing about that is we usually have the stage crew guys give us the log or hand me the log. Now, there's a little bit of a language barrier going on. So when I'm trying to tell them, take the log away from me, they're just looking at me. I'm like, hey, translator, tell them what to do. Tell them to take it off. Tell them that, you know. So it was a little bit, it was a little nerve-wracking right there.
People were just stunned. The crowd was stunned, and they were like, is he all right? Is he dead? Is he awake? I mean, is he breathing?
Come on, make some noise!
It's almost like he brought that WWE flavor to it, and that just added to the excitement. So people just thrilled.
How many of you got goals and dreams set for yourself in this
Now,
life?
before one of their largest crowds, the team considers one of their most unsuccessful feats.
A young child in one of our Dallas Crusades, he came to us after the program. He said, man, y'all break wooden baseball bats all the time. I said, well, how about you break an aluminum baseball bat? Man, leave us alone, man. Come on now. But you know what? We took him up on that challenge. We went out on stage, took the aluminum baseball bat. It was a packed house, 5,000 people in the place. We're on live television. They said, Randall, do the aluminum baseball bat. I said, all right. So I started pushing and pushing and pushing, and it was bending. I said, all right, it's going good, it's going good, it's going good. Then I got to a point, and it said, the bat said, I'm not bending anymore. This is it. Oh man, that bat, it wore us out, and we failed miserably on live television in front of 5,000 people. And it was a terrible thing right then.
He's gonna attempt to bend and possibly snap it right in half.
Tonight, the idea of the team playing it safe doesn't suit them.
We're about 60% at breaking that aluminum baseball bat. It's very, very taxing on the body, the chest, the shoulders, triceps. You'll feel your arm popping and stuff like that in different places. I feel my chest pop like that, making all kind of noise. It's cool to do it, but afterwards you're so glad that it is done. It's crazy. Do a lot of crazy stuff.
After 3 nightly crusades, 3 men stood before an audience of over 30,000. And true to the nature of India, the greatest display of strength came from the people.
All that you need tonight आपको केवल एक चीज चाहिए is one touch from God. परमेश्वर का एक स्पर्श, one touch from heaven. स्वर्ग का एक स्पर्श, and your life will be marked forever. और आपका जीवन बदल जाएगा. Your life will be changed forever. आपका जीवन हमेशा के लिए you will be separated forever. आप हमेशा के लिए अलग किए जाएंगे. That's how God will use you. परमेश्वर इसी तरह आपको इस्तेमाल करेगा. Will you be a willing vessel? क्या आप?
The final night that we were there, we probably had 25 to 30,000 people in attendance, and when Sujo gave the altar call, once they started coming forward, it was like they just ran forward, and just the people coming to know the Lord was just incredible.
They were in the sprint. They would come up there running, and they were just wholeheartedly just open, just totally open, and tears streaming down their eyes. And although I couldn't understand what they were saying, I knew what they were going through. You know, I knew what they meant. I knew what was happening in their life because I was at that same point. You know, I had that same thing happen to me. Although I didn't grow up in India, although I don't know anything about that person, I know what they're experiencing. Having Christ to come into their life, asking and crying out to the only Christ to come into their life to be their Savior.
From the platform, as I was giving that altar call, it was just thrilling But also back of the mind, I was just praying for them. I just knew that this one move towards the gospel could cost them, some of them, their lives, and cost them some of their families, and they could be ostracized from their society. And so when these people come, they were coming with reckless abandonment towards Jesus, wanting hope and wanting forgiveness for their sin. They've tried it all. They've knocked for him in different places and went through religion, but now they were saying no to religion and experiencing this walk with Jesus.
Man, you know what? Through all the stuff I went through, the different plane rides and no sleep on the planes, the culture shocks, all this and that and the other, man, you know what? I would do it all again just to see that, just to see people know who Christ is as their Savior. That right there, it's all worth it.
I had no idea how much I would fall in love with India and how much of a passion I have for India. And so I think that this has been a very impactful event for me, and I believe I'm going to be going to India for many times throughout the next 10 to 20 years.
This trip again was so special for me, seeing the hunger for the gospel, the response to the gospel. You know, when I left India, I got on that plane knowing that, wow, there are men and women on the ground doing a fabulous job reaching that nation. And I want to just thank Daystar Television for what they do in India. You know, this program is watched all over India. My family gets to watch Daystar in India. And it's amazing to see Christian television play a very important role in India, a nation where they have never heard the gospel. And a lot of these people who are being drawn to the Lord are people that watch Christian television, many closet Christians almost. They can't go to church, but they watch Christian television. So I know Marcus and Joni, they have a great heart for India. I know their family has a great heart for India, and I want to thank you for what you do for India.
We couldn't have done this without Daystar. Daystar sponsored us so we could be a part of this wonderful event. I hope that you're going to be able to see through this program what God is doing in India and what we can do if we just join forces.
Beyond the splintering of wood and coiling of steel, and beyond the spectacle and splendor, an impact was made in the heart of a nation, and it echoes on in the hearts of men.